So I'm watching SportsCenter just now, and I hear Sal Pal, who I really like, talking about the pressures of playing for the Colts. Those of you that actually pay attention know there are no pressures playing with for the Colts because, frankly, nobody in the media holds the Colts accountable. And why doesn't anybody ever ask? Why is this taboo to ask Matt Ryan a question that simply says, you guys are up 28-3 in the Super Bowl? You ever recovered from that? I mean, it's a legit question, no? Like, if I always tell you this, for 40-some years, since 1980, there are like 4 games that I think about every day. Why is it so? What, is Matt Ryan like some god? Sal Pal talking about pressure in Indianapolis is me talking about hair care products. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. Because every guy that ever plays in Indianapolis wants to stay in Indianapolis. Because even if you stinks, you're treated as a god. We got a lot to get to today, ladies and gentlemen, but I just happened to see that. And then I heard Holly Rowe. She doesn't know anything about the Ohio State Notre Dame football game, but she's sitting there talking about how Marcus Freeman is going to motivate him. Yeah, pull this, it plays jingle bells. Motivate him. You better coach him. And no coach in the country, not one single coach in the country ever, including me as a head coach, and I got a technical foul 13 seconds into my first game. No coach looked more lost as a head coach than Marcus Freeman. On that cheery and happy note, welcome. Speaking of somebody that's cheery and happy, how about Jimmy G? Jimmy G, he's gone. There is no path, the idiots told us. Get on ESPN and you can say whatever you want. Jimmy G's gone. They can't keep him around. Trey Lance can't handle Jimmy G being there. Then it became Jimmy G's a pain in the backside. We can't have. He ghosted us. He did all these bad things. Yeah, every single media guy was wrong, and I'm here to tell you. They're always wrong. Always. Jimmy G, 1 year, $6.5 million. I'm not going to bore you with all of the elevator bonuses, but it could end up being $16 million if he hits a $500,000 roster bonus and all the varying game time, play time, they call it. Sounds like grade school. Playtime bonuses, and of course, you've got your performance bonuses. Jimmy G is back. Now, it begs the question, why all this drama? Okay, you go, and was there drama? Like most times, drama in sports is created by outside entities. Like whenever I've been on a team, whether a coach or a player, you read something and you go, well, that's not true. That didn't happen. That's not how it went down. What are you talking about? That's partially true. I just read an article on me, 2,000 words. I'm like, that ain't true. That's not how it went down. Doyle, I wasn't going to let you stay at my house with a young teenage daughter there. I wasn't letting you represent me. You can spin things however you want, but lies are lies. And I got to tell you, they all come from outside sources. People that are actually dealing with it usually don't have any issues on inside their team other than normal issues. Like if you read about Jimmy G, it is impossible to keep Jimmy G here. Trey Lance needs his own team because, God dang it, NFL football players are the softest people in the world and they can't have competition. If I don't know who the quarterback is in my quarterback room, who my QB1 is, we can't have a team. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. We'll get to that, and it's biblical coming up here in a little bit with Jim Harbaugh. But I'm saying, Jimmy G, all right, he's back. Guess who's back? Back. Jimmy's back. Guess who's back? Yes, who's back? Yes, who's back? Hey, fellas, the YouTube you sent me was yesterday's, but I ain't mad about it. You just sent it to me, and it was yesterday's for the YouTube chat. Now, welcome, by the way, the YouTube chat. As you can tell, I'm all hepped up on coffee today. We're in Dubai. I don't know. Does that make me a Live Tour member? My mom went to Dubai. She brought me a coffee cup. Screw you if you don't like it. Anyway, Jimmy G is back. He wasn't supposed to be. The 49ers are smart. Look, if I'm a coach, or I'm a GM, you know what I want? Players. Really, really good players that fit. Now, that fit are important, and if Jimmy G didn't fit, I don't think they would have him around. If he was such a bad teammate, I don't think they would have him around, but he's not. So Jimmy G, guess who's back, back, back. All right, I like this. You know why I like this? Because it makes people lose their minds. It makes them lose their ever-loving minds. Jim Harbaugh makes people go crazy. I mean crazy. And when I say crazy, I mean they can't stand it. Jim Harbaugh does not fit the mode of every man. He does not fit the mode of Coach Guy. He does not fit the mode of, oh, you know what? This is my QB1. No, Jim Harbaugh goes biblical on that ass, as they said in Pulp Fiction. Jim Harbaugh is not, well, he ain't normal, and I'm here for it. I had a friend of my son's play for Jim Harbaugh, and the mother loved Jim Harbaugh. Said, you know what? And the mother was like a school teacher. And she's like, you know what? He's different. He makes sense. All these other guys walk in your house, and what are they? I don't know. They're just guys talking. Harbaugh was different. He was fresh. Not fresh in that way, but you know, fresh. So he went Solomon. He said it was biblical, his decision to start both J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara. McNamara in the first game against Colorado State, McCarthy's second game. It's biblical. It's Solomon. Everybody talks about how smart Solomon is. The wisdom of Solomon. All right. Let me explain Solomon to you in a nutshell. You ready for how smart this guy was? Listen to this. He had 700 wives, 300 side pieces, and 1,000 women he had to service. 1,000 women he had to keep happy. Look, you can spin that around. I don't want to be sexist here. But if a woman had 700 husbands and 300 gigolos, I don't think she would like that either, and I wouldn't consider her very smart. I get it. The wisdom of Solomon, it is biblical. But the dude had 700 wives. I don't know. All I know is this. I've had 2 wives. I'm not having any more. This one, never letting go. I've told her, you can move in with some dude. You can cheat on me and move in with some dude. I'm living in the basement. I'm just telling you. But anyway, 700 wives, 300 concubines, as they call them in the Bible. That ain't so smart to me, people. I'm reading right here. The wisdom of Solomon. All right. That dude was so smart, he fell into idolatry. What the hell? I worship this camera. Oh my God, this camera. What is wrong with you? So was it the wisdom of Solomon, the smart stuff? Or was it the 700 wives and 300 concubines of Solomon that led him to make the choice of J.J. McCarthy and Cade McNamara? I don't know. But how smart can you be? Seriously. How smart can you be? There was a genie once who displeased Solomon. She was punished by being locked in a bottle and thrown into the river. The genie was freed, punished Solomon. All kind of magic, angels, all kind of stuff around Solomon. I don't know. Good for Harbaugh. Solomon, Harbaugh, McCarthy, and McNamara. I don't think you're ever going to hear those in the same sentence, but I ain't mad about it. I ain't mad about it even a little bit. Let's go. Let's go, Solomon. Let's go. 700 wives. Ladies, I'll flip it. Think about if you had Jennifer on the YouTube chat, 700 husbands, 300, what are men, gigolos? They call them, concubines. That ain't smart. I've wasted too much time on this. Speaking of smart, and we're going to get into this game later, there are two coaches, one of whom is Brian Kelly at LSU. The other is Tom Allen. Tom Allen is at Indiana. Both are being sneaky. Both know who their starting quarterback is, and both ain't talking. Now, Kelly opens up his LSU career at Florida State Sunday night. That's going to be a good game. Norvell, Mike, great, savior, holding the seat until Deion Sanders is ready, and I think he's already ready. 4 straight losing seasons. You lose this one, Deion Sanders might be on the next train, bus, or plane, or private plane, or whatever, limo, whatever Deion Sanders takes to get to Florida State. But that's what's happening. It's not if, it's when. So Brian Kelly doesn't know or doesn't want to say who his quarterback is. And, of course, every little slap in the media is saying, well, Brian Kelly is, Brian Kelly is being stupid. Of course they know who the quarterback is, or they prepared for him. Good. Hey, man, Brian Kelly's no fool. Brian Kelly is smarter than any media guy talking about football. There isn't a media guy out there, I don't give a damn who it is, that is smarter and knows more about this game, Florida State versus LSU, than Brian Kelly. And if he feels he gets even that much of an advantage. Hell, one of the most infamous phone calls in the history of Indiana basketball, Bob Knight got on the line, punched Ron Felling, hung up on me, yelled and screamed, lawsuits ensued. Started when I called my friend Ron Felling to ask him about his friend, Tommy Richardson, who happened to coach the team I was playing that night. I was looking for anything unbeknownst to Ron that he might tell me. Coaches are looking for anything, and I respect it. Doesn't have to be a big thing. And if some clown writer or some clown blogger or some clown media guy doesn't understand that what Brian Kelly is doing is putting his team and himself and his offense in the best situation possible, will it make a big difference? Probably not. But to Kelly, it might. And if it matters to Kelly, who cares? Same thing with Tom Allen. He's got a quarterback competition. Great. He's not saying who the quarterback is. His is a little bit different. He opens up against Illinois. Illinois has already played, which some would say is an advantage, right? You've already played. You've not come out of it injury-free. You got a big win. You're feeling good. Illinois thumped Wyoming. Tom Allen is looking for any advantage that he can find. What does he do? He says, okay, I'm not telling you who my quarterback is. Good. Waste practice time on both of them. Smart. I don't anticipate any little media guy being smart enough to understand it. I don't. And if they are, good for them. But I've read a lot of criticism, a lot of sarcasm about Brian Kelly. See, Brian Kelly's starting out here at LSU on the wrong side of the media, and that's interesting to me because all Brian Kelly's done is win, demand of players, and got out of Notre Dame before Notre Dame got tired of him. It's a Larry Brown philosophy of coaching, and it's genius. Good for him. I wouldn't tell you clowns either. The people that need to know. Period. Hey, I had fun last night. I did. I had fun last night watching Serena Williams. Did you happen to catch it? She was wearing diamond, and I don't know what this means. She was wearing diamond-encrusted shoes. She came out in a cape. You know my theory. If you see someone in a cape, follow them. A good time will ensue. I'm telling you. I say it all the time. So Serena comes out wearing all black, has a cape, and I don't know. I thought, well, in listening to John McEnroe before the match, this could be a tough match. The woman that she's playing, a lady named Danka Kovanic was, according to John McEnroe, pretty mentally tough, and she was. She was very mentally tough. She gave it everything. She had chances, but here's the deal. Talent wins, particularly when talent gets inspired. I felt like before the match, Serena Williams, my brother and I were talking. He's a big tennis guy. His son got up to just about the level of being a pro. Wasn't quite good enough, tall enough actually. Physical limitations really hurt him. But anyway, so they know these guys. They know some of the younger players coming up in tennis. Actually, now they're middle-aged players in tennis, 27, 28 years old. Anyway, I digress. He said, yeah, you know, the word in tennis is Serena Williams kind of moved on from tennis. She's moved on to family. She's moved on to her businesses. She's moved on. She's 40 years old. What are you going to do, right? We move on. But here's the deal. I thought early, I didn't think she looked necessarily nervous. I just didn't think she looked very good. Then all of a sudden, boom, Chrissy Everett and McEnroe called it. The most dangerous weapon in the history of women's sports. Her serve got going, and her toughness was on display. And that's what I've always thought about Serena Williams. See, I have a weird thing that I love Serena Williams and I love Lamar Jackson because I think their toughness is off the charts. Like when Serena Williams gets down, you never think she's going to give in. Tennis is a lot about giving in. If you've ever played tennis, you know at some point you got to make a decision. Do I really want to keep fighting this? Or anyway, Serena Williams has never given in. In fact, her emotional outbursts are why I like her even more. I didn't like the fact that she was going to kill the umpire, but we all say things. I certainly said things on the sideline that if they were broadcast wouldn't put me in a very good light, but I've always liked her toughness. And last night I just simply had fun. I had fun watching Serena Williams play tennis. She was moving great. She was consistent. Her serve got going. And frankly, she did what she used to do, which is overwhelm an opponent. And what made it even more fun, and I thought really funny, was how ironic is this? Dr. Ruth, the old lady sex doctor, is sitting next to Bill Clinton. You can't write that up. You can't draw that up. How about ESPN announcers didn't know that was Mike Tyson, or maybe it was Evander Holyfield, or maybe it was Mike Tyson. I don't know. It was a star-studded night in New York, and that's awesome. It really is. But I had fun sitting right there on my dupayage, watching Serena Williams. Yeah, she's a little bigger, but who isn't at 40 than 24? Well, you know, she's not quite in the same shape. She's 40 years old. I thought she moved fine. I thought she didn't give in. I thought that she showed the toughness that we've all come to know from Serena Williams. Good for you, Serena Williams. Now, I told you yesterday, we're going to make a little money on Serena Williams. Yeah, we are. I digress. I didn't look this up. I meant to. But the truth of the matter is now Serena Williams moves on. She plays the number 2 player in the world. Now, the only person in tennis that I really listen to is Johnny Mac. See, John McEnroe will shoot you straight, and he knows everything there is about tennis. Now, can Serena Williams beat the number 2 player in the world? I don't know, but I know this. The number 2 player in the world, according to Johnny Mac, she's all shook up. Yeah, that's what he said. He told me the other day on my television, Johnny Mac told me that Serena Williams' opponent, the second round, will be easier than round 1. I was a little taken back by that. I said, really? And here's the deal. Her name is Annette Kontaveit. She's going to play tomorrow at 11 o'clock. If I can get plus 170, which is what it says here on Serena Williams, I'm taking it. I am. Oh, by the way, speaking of bets, I haven't really talked to you. We have the Bear, Chris Felica, coming up. Here's my betting thing. It says football betting, but it's everything. Last night I won $86.95. I lost $60 on Serena. I thought it would go over 20.5. But I won $86.95 on a Cubs-Dodgers parlay. The Dodgers were down a run. I took them. And then I took Toronto to beat the Cubs. It was 4-0, 4-3 after a home run, 5-4 extra innings. So currently, I don't know what to tell you. I'm up $200. Go up $200 every month, your toes are tapping. What are you talking about? It's not going to happen, but that's what I'm talking about. All right, good for Serena Williams. Peter Ducey. Now, I don't know. I feel like people can just say whatever they want to say. A liberal. Let's hear Peter Ducey, Karine Jean-Pierre, the press secretary. The only press secretary, I want to be the press secretary to the President of the United States. Anybody that knows me knows this to be true. Let's hear this little exchange, if you don't mind.
How is it two different things? Somebody unvaccinated comes over on a plane. You say that's not okay. Somebody walks into Texas or Arizona unvaccinated. They're allowed to stay. Why?
But that's not how it works. Like, we actually, no.
I know that that's not what you guys want to happen, but that is what is happening.
But that's not, it's not like somebody walks over and that's not how.
That's exactly what's happening. Thousands of people are walking in a day. Some of them turn themselves over. Some of them are caught. Tens of thousands a week are not. That is what is happening.
Now, I don't know about you, but I want more pressure like that. I want more exposure like that. The queen of the border, Kamala Harris, hasn't even been to the border. I don't blame this lady. See, people always blame press secretaries, right? What a bad position. And I always wanted to be I always wanted her job. It's the only dream job I've ever had. People say, well, coaching Indiana, dream job. Yeah, maybe, I guess, in sports, but my ultimate dream job is press secretary to the President of the United States. You get to see how everything is run. You get to see how everything is spun. You get to get up there. There was a lady named Helen Thomas. I always wanted to tell Helen Thomas, hey, Helen, sit down. Peter Ducey does a great job, and I wish there was more of it. I don't understand how there's not more of it. How can you look yourself in the eye as a person that went to journalism school at Syracuse? I came through Newhouse. I came through the media school at Indiana. Cuban media school. Medill, I think it's Medill, at Northwestern. You know, at Missouri, we have a great media school. No, you don't. None of you do. Because none of you have the stones to do what Peter Ducey just did, which is ask some, well, I don't know, how do you call, she's dating this woman as a CNN correspondent, so I don't know, is she impartial? Of course not. Is she literally in bed with the media? Of course, at least that's what I'm being told. I'm not there. I mean, who is? Not me. But I got to tell you, Peter Ducey, I wish more would. I don't understand why more don't. Why don't they? Tell me, please, why don't more people do what Peter Ducey just did? Why? Are they so in pocket? Are they? All right. Fine. By the way, today is cut day in the NFL, and this just came in. The Colts have released Philip Lindsay. That's a surprise. Anyway, I digress. Why aren't more people asking this question? Why aren't more media, quote, journalists asking these questions? Why so in pocket? I don't have the answer. How about our guy, Mr. Science? You thought Bill Nye was the science guy? Bill Nye's not the science guy. Joe Biden's the science guy. You want to see science at work? Joe Biden is Mr. Science. You know, there was Mr. Coffee with Joe DiMaggio. Let's see Mr. Science living by science in this video here. Let's show this video. Joe Biden walking up, no one around him. He's got the mask on. Here goes Joe. He takes it off when he's going inside. Look at Joltin' Joe. Walking up, got his mask on, no one's around. He takes it off as he's getting into the plane, and then he's going to wave to us like we give a rat's ass him waving to us. And then he gets inside among people. You can't make this up. Now, if you're a self-respecting journalist, how do you defend that? I know how they defended in Indianapolis, our sports columnists who told us that there would be body bags at the Indy 500, that sending your child to college was worse than sending him to Vietnam. And of course, Biden is just a nice old man that fell on a bike. They would defend this, or they wouldn't comment on it. This whole thing has been such a sham, and God bless him. God bless Joe Biden, because I got to tell you, Outkick grew. Clay Travis was beyond any of these guys, any and all of these people. And now all of a sudden, everybody's kind of coming back. Wait a second. Travis and the crew at Outkick, particularly Clay Travis, were smarter than everybody. How did they know? Well, they knew because they paid attention. I didn't really pay attention. I was busy doing other stuff. I was engrossed in Game of Thrones. I was engrossed in Boardwalk Empire. I took in the Lion King or the Tiger King or whatever that crazy mulleted fool's name was, or whatever his show was. But Clay Travis was paying attention. The inevitable hit pieces came. Clay kept standing up. I don't know, it is fascinating to me that Mr. Science isn't wearing a mask inside. Does the science say only wear a mask around nobody, and then when you get in an airplane, take it off? Do airplanes still require you to wear masks? I would hope not. We just saw, well, I don't know, the smartest, the most powerful man in the country, tell us that we need to wear a mask when we're outside by ourselves, AKA here, but not when we're going inside. That's what he just told me, Mr. Science. Bill Nye, science guy, move your ass over. Move over. Joey B's in the hizzy. Little girl sniffing Joey B. What? Seriously, I got to ask you. You really voted for that guy? You really did? You really defending that guy? I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for Trump either. I voted for me, 52 votes in the state of Indiana. You really voted for him. That's what you did. Okay. Good for you. Jeez. You can't even, like, if I were a conservative or a libertarian, you can't even get mad anymore. You know, you just laugh. When you see things like that and you realize, man, these folks that voted for him hired a career politician that has made our lives completely miserable. You just laugh. And then I guarantee you, if I go into the YouTube chat, if I go somewhere else, they're saying, well, whatever they're saying. I don't even know. How can you do? You can't defend that. That's impossible. Don't even try. There's no defending that guy. And if you are, God bless you, man. Good for you. I prefer never in my life to be a sheep. I prefer that. But again, I'm not a guy that thinks Solomon was all that wise. 700 wives, 300 concubines. Who's got the energy? Even in my 20s. When we come back, I got my top 5 college football games. This is a big weekend. When you really go across, this is a monster weekend. Chris Felica, a.k.a. Bear from College Game Day, we're going to get into talking with him about the same thing. We're going to talk to Chris about what are his top 5. Is there any sleepers? How nuts am I to say Aiden O'Connell for the Heisman? I put out a tweet today that's getting roundly crushed because I said that Aiden O'Connell, look it up, people, is the best quarterback in the Big Ten. I'm just saying. You're exactly right, Otter Creek. With the exception of Coach Dockich, Indianapolis media is a PR propaganda wing of the Colts. You ain't lying. I also agree with this. You must keep Biden alive, because can you imagine having to sit there and listen to Camilla be the president of the United States? No, we cannot have this. We must not have this. Midterms are coming, but if I'm a conservative, don't get complacent. All right, we come back. I'll give you my 5 top football games of the weekend and tell you why one of them that's honorable mention may be the best. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Hutton from Outkick 360. If you couldn't catch the show yesterday, here's what you missed. All of America was watching this game if you're interested in college football, at least based on the Twitter timeline, Instagram posts, reels. Everyone's hashtag NEB, hashtag Nebraska, hashtag Huskers, and laughing at Scott Frost being the GOAT yet again, and stats galore about how 5-21 in one-score games, how he's won only half as much as he's lost, comparing him to Pelini. And meanwhile, if this was your average college football Saturday, we get it, but not to the extent that we saw on Saturday from Dublin, live on Fox.
I remember us wondering why punters were drafted ahead of him. I think it's a logical line to draw that 2 teams that drafted punters ahead of him knew.
Well, Bean and Sean McDermott said we spoke to basically double-digit number of teams, and none of the teams we spoke to knew anything about it, is what they said about it. And they admitted we had no idea when we drafted them. That could have changed things, but saying that the teams they spoke to had no idea.
We're discussing the sports topics you care about from every angle. Catch me, Chad Withrow, and Paul Kuharsky each weekday afternoon, 3 to 6 Eastern, right here at Outkick.com. Stay with us on the Outkick Network.
Hey, welcome. College football is here, man, and this Outkick's your home. I mean, we have no agenda. We have nothing other than information. So, I've got my 5 top games, okay? I've also got 3 honorable mention ones because this is a big slate. Now, I'm not going to include Bowling Green going to UCLA. I'm not going to do it. Bowling Green, where I coach, going to UCLA is an odd matchup, but I like it. I like it a lot. I guarantee you Bowling Green's been being paid some cash to go out there. West Virginia against Pittsburgh is one of my honorable mention games. The only reason it's even up there is, frankly, because, well, it's kind of a rivalry. We're supposed to care. And West Virginia is a place that I coached at for 8 days. All right? I was a head basketball coach there for 8 games. They were cheating their brains out, all that kind of stuff. It is JT Daniels of West Virginia against Slovis of Pittsburgh. Irony? I think so. Both Slovis and JT Daniels played on the same USC team few years back. Now, after a series of transfers, Slovis, I think, just went from, well, I think he's replacing Kenny Pickett. I think it's a one-time transfer deal. The other guy, JT Daniels, you remember, was given the keys to the car. At Georgia, it didn't work out. Stetson Bennett, it did work out, and it worked out big time. Pittsburgh is -7.5, and I got no idea because you got 2 new of quarterbacks. So you can bet it based on the home team. I would bet it down to 7. But when you lose a stud quarterback like Kenny Pickett and you try to replace him, I don't know, man. 7.5 seems like a lot. I will tell you this. It will be interesting. I always try to think about myself in college. Like, I don't think, well, yes, we did once or twice. We played against guys that transferred, and it didn't really impact. My roommate in college, my freshman year, transferred to Ball State. Next thing you know, we find ourselves on the court together in Indianapolis. Indiana played Ball State. I didn't hardly play. But at the end of the day, it wasn't weird at all. And certainly in football, I don't think a guy's quarterbacking against a defense, a guy's quarterbacking here against a defense should matter. But that's my honorable mention game. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm going to talk about this game, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't, I won't, I can't. Penn State at Purdue, 8 o'clock on Fox. Now, granted, this show and the rest of Outkick is a Fox-owned entity. I don't care. I'll promote any game, anytime, anywhere. And Penn State against Purdue is sold out. Doesn't always happen in the state of Indiana other than Notre Dame where games are sold out. Penn State comes in with an experienced quarterback in Sean Clifford. Penn State comes in with a coach that knows his way around the Big Ten. He ain't afraid to go into Purdue. Hell, James Franklin has had monster games over the course of his career, and Penn State's a storied program, even though it was tarnished and remains a bit tarnished by the legacy of Jerry Sandusky and Joe Paterno. Throw that all out the window. Because Purdue is one of those schools that gets up for the moment. Like Purdue's one of those schools, the entire campus on Thursday, will be rocking. Harry's Chocolate Shop, crazy. In fact, I actually scheduled a golf game early enough so that I could get home and watch this. This is one of those games where I better work out like a maniac before, because I'm grabbing pizza, I'm grabbing a 12-pack of A&W zero sugar root beer, and I'm going to have a sit. Because this is my biggest game of the year. Nobody's been mouthier than me about Aiden O'Connell or anybody for the Heisman Trophy. I put out a tweet today. Everybody's mad. You're just seeking attention, Doc. No, I believe what I said, which is Aiden O'Connell's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Now, people are going to say C.J. Stroud, and I'm going to say, great, go, yay, go fight, win, C.J. Stroud. You're great, you're fantastic, wonderful, love you. Tremendous, C.J. Stroud. Great stuff, C.J. Stroud. Okay, but it's the biggest game since Tyler Trent game. Tyler Trent, for those of you that don't know, Purdue superfan, great story, passed away. Jeff Brom and the team took him as their own. Ohio State came in number 2, got their brains beat out. Rondell Moore coming out party. Next thing you know, boom, 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 boom. And this is as big a game since then. I got Purdue plus 3.5. I got Purdue on the money line. I'm going to read you some stuff. Aiden O'Connell, kid's good, but there's a kid that plays quarterback in Columbus that will be a top 5 pick in the draft. I didn't say Aiden O'Connell was the number 1 NFL pick. Hey, Dan, C.J. Stroud leave Ohio State? Dan, you misspelled C.J. Stroud. Dan, attention-seeking tweet. Buddy, we're buddies now. C.J. Stroud plays in the Big Ten. Hey, Dan, also take over 53.5. I got you on that one, big boy. You're right. Hey, Dan, bro, did you think Ohio State went to the Big Ten or Pac-12? Dan, it's Ross 8. Yeah, bite me. Dan, move into a retirement home. All right. Guy from Penn State said, best quarterback in the Big Ten is Sean Clifford. And he's only 30. I like it. Dan doesn't give a rat's about IU. He mocks Leo. No, I don't. No, I really don't. All right. The AOC, I will not refer to him as AOC. No. No. Take Purdue in the 3.5. This is my number 1 game of the weekend. If I just wanted to win money gambling and I didn't want to enjoy games while I bet them, I would just bet this one. I would bet too much. It would be what we call a DoorDash bet, meaning if I lose, I got to go door dashing. Take Purdue in the points. Take Purdue in the money line. Put Purdue in the points in any parlay you want. They're going to cover the 3.5, and they're going to win the game. This one I can't bet. Indiana, Illinois. Illinois won a game, and they looked all right doing it. Their quarterback Not Danny DeVito. Stop it. Tommy DeVito came over from Syracuse. I watch enough about Tommy DeVito to know that he's okay. Hey, Jared. Anyway, Tommy DeVito's okay. Why am I yelling at Jared? Well, because Jared and one of their safeties, Eric Coley, lived together, and DeVito was the quarterback, and they all like DeVito, so I like DeVito. There's no way I'm betting Indiana football. Indiana football has cost me enough money to pay off your student loan. Indiana football never, ever fails to disappoint. Indiana football 2 years ago had a year where everybody goes, yeah, everybody wants to play for Tom Allen. Tom Allen's great, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Fine. Last year didn't win a game until proven different, which will never happen because I've lost money on Indiana football in so many ways. Live bets, halftime bets, 30-point underdog, true story, against Wisconsin one time. 10-point favorite, 2-point favorite, pick them, you name it. I like Indiana football. I went to every Indiana football game that I was in town for over the 17 years I was at IU, but I ain't betting Indiana football. 40,000 people, according to athletic director Scott Dolson, are supposed to come into the place. 40,000. All right, I ain't doing it. You do it at your own risk. I'm not even giving advice on how to bet Indiana football, because whatever advice I give on Indiana football, it's going to be wrong. Maybe, just maybe, I should do opposite day. Yeah. Opposite day. Whatever I say, do the opposite. We'll go Costanza on you. Yeah. All right. That's what we'll do. Here's the deal. Bump, bump. Bet it at your own risk. All right, Cincinnati, Arkansas. Coach Pittman of Arkansas said, look, we got to get off to a good start. And you know the good start when you go to a party. Do you bring liquor or do you bring beer? I get what he's saying. If you're going to drink beer, then you're there for the long run. If you're going to drink liquor, then you're going to get hammered. Then you're ready to jump in the pool naked. Then you're ready to do whatever. It's a 6.5-point spread, Cincinnati. Interesting. Do you know who Ben Bryant is? 3 years ago, Ben Bryant got tired of being the backup to Desmond Ridder. So what did he do? He transferred to Eastern Michigan. He threw for 3,200 yards, had a nice little deal. Guess what? Desmond Ridder's gone. Guess what this guy did? Yeah, that's right. He transferred back. I'm not sure he's going to be the starting quarterback, but I'm not sure that he's not, which leads me to this. You got to follow this logic, okay? Coach Pittman took over a mess. Coach Pittman took over, what was it, Chad Morris, who, whatever. It was a mess. Coach Pittman turned this into 9-4, 4-4 in the league. Mark Vrabel. Luke Fickell has been dynamite no matter who's on his team. Now remember, they lost Sauce Gardner. They lost Desmond Ridder. They lost 6 guys to the NFL. Whether they stay or not, I don't know. We'll find out today. But anyway, he lost some stars. But you know what? It has not mattered. Luke Fickell has been able to reload. Are they going to get to the college football playoffs? Boy, if they do, he's coach of the century. I'm going to take the 6.5. I'm going to give the 6.5 here. Now, we'll talk about this game with Bear. But I like, okay, here's how I look at betting. You guys look at specific players, and that's important. I look at everything. Here's one thing I looked at. Man, the SEC just won 63-10. Vanderbilt at Hawaii. If I'm Arkansas, I got to be good, man. Those players saw that. It's at home. Fayetteville will be nuts. Give me Arkansas or give me death. And Bill Clinton was getting sex advice from Dr. Ruth yesterday on TV in the U.S. Open, so it's got to work out well for Arkansas. All right, Florida, Utah. Utah, 10-4 last year. You know what? They weren't very good. They lost all their non-conference games last year and couldn't guard nobody. 37 points a game, 35.7 points a game in their 3 non-conference games. Now, I don't know if Florida's any good. I know everybody likes Billy Napier, so everybody's going to say Billy Napier and the boys down there in Gatorland are really good. Here's the deal. And I'm looking at you, Florida people. Yeah, I am. Be careful what you wish for. You all wish, well, Urban Meyer walked out on us. I didn't like the way Urban ran that program. Everybody knows when you go to the South as a coach, if you win, they love you because you're not one of them. We all know this. Every coach knows this. It's what Brian Kelly, there's articles today, and I'll get to Brian Kelly in a minute, but there's articles today. You got to hold Brian Kelly to the standard. Nick Saban came in when he took over for DiNardo, and they went from 3 wins or whatever it was to 8-4. If you ain't from there, they don't like you. Only if you win. Everybody knows that. Billy Donovan knew that. Urban Meyer knew that. Everybody knows that. I mean, we can lie. Nobody else is going to tell you that, but I'll tell you that. So I'm looking at this Billy Napier. He's one of them. He's from down there. Let's go. Billy Napier better win. He's got a kid named Anthony Richardson. Now, the thing about Anthony Richardson is people expect him to throw for 300 yards and gain 100 yards rushing. That's a tall task. He's got Jack Miller III behind him. I don't know whether Jack Miller III is any good, but I do know this. He got in games for Ohio State, which means he's not horrible. The bottom line for Utah is simply this. You cannot play a Florida team that may or may not be good offensively, even they don't know, and have a porous defense. Kyle Whittingham has got to figure that out. And what I have read is that that is what the entire offseason has been about. Here's how you're going to know. It's a little bit what Sam Pittman said. You may know within the first 3 possessions. Sometimes football games settle in and they get going. Florida, if Florida can move the football, if Anthony Richardson can get it going, if they can take the ball down the field, let's say they have a drive that starts at, their own 20, 30. If they go down the field, problem. Huge problem for Utah. Because that, early. Now, key to this game, if Utah, first game of the year, right? If Utah comes out and stymies them, that means that at least for this game, doesn't mean for the whole season, but it means for at least this game, what Utah did in the offseason works, and they'll build on it. Now, they may still lose the game, but I'm telling you, the first 3 possessions, watch them. If Utah's defense up to the task, Utah's going to win the football game. Florida at home getting 3.5, 51.5, I wouldn't touch it. This could be a low-scoring game because of what I just said. This could be a low-scoring game because, frankly, Utah's defense, which is all they got going this offseason, I mean, they emphasized it, went crazy on. Don't touch the 51.5. It may blow over. You may see mid-game. In fact, if I were going to touch this line, then I would do it in-game after I've seen the first 3 possessions. Look, I'm not going to give you stats and that crap. I'm going to tell you the psychology of the game. And I'm telling you 90% of the time what I tell you is going to turn out to be true. For Florida, Anthony Richardson got to be effective. Can't miss open receivers. Got to be accurate. Anthony Richardson got to move the chains. Not sure this is a typical Florida big play offense. Now, Percy Harvin ain't walking through that door, people. He's not. But I'll tell you this. If I'm Billy Napier, I want to win this game. I know everybody says it's going on the right direction. I know everybody says that. That's great. Utah 10-4. Utah got it going in the Pac-12. Utah played the brakes out of Ohio State on New Year's Day or whenever the hell it was in the Rose Bowl. It's great. Opening game, you better win this one, Billy Napier. And you better do it by putting points on the board. And Anthony Richardson, a lot of pressure on you because I don't think Florida fans want to keep talking about rebuilding and old Billy Napier is doing pretty good. No. LSU, Florida State. I mentioned it earlier. Florida State, 4 straight losing seasons. Mike Norvell is here. All right? Right here on his shoulder, Deion Sanders. And he should be. I mean, look, Deion Sanders going down to Jackson State. I'll tell you this, whether you like Deion Sanders, whether you don't like Deion Sanders, whether you never heard of Deion Sanders until now, you hear him now if you're a football fan. If you never knew what Jackson State was, then you've heard of him now because of Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders creates interest. You give Deion Sanders the resources of a Florida State, I got to tell you, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but it ain't going to be bad, particularly now. particularly now when Deion Sanders can go sell your name, image, and likeness and can tap into all of that. Imagine Deion Sanders walking into a Florida State booster, let's say even one that lives in Indiana. And he sits and he talks to the guy. That guy's going to say, Deion, where do I write the check? To whom? I mean, seriously. No? All right, the game itself. LSU is not telling me who the quarterback is. And I don't even want to know. I'm going to tell you what you're going to see out of LSU. You ready? You're going to see a team that grinds down Florida State. If it means passing, they're going to do it. If it means running the ball, they're going to do it. This has all the earmarks of one of those 24-21, Brian Kelly, we're going to bore you to death, get the win, and move on games. That's what this has all the earmarks of. This doesn't have the earmarks of a high-flying SEC, Florida State, crazy. No. I got to believe Brian Kelly's going to do three things in this game. Have impeccable special teams. I got to believe it. I got to believe that Brian Kelly is going to play the quarterback that he believes will make the fewest mistakes. There is a saying that Bob Knight put up and every coach uses, or at least most coaches use. Victory favors the team making the fewest mistakes. Doesn't say victory favors a team making the biggest plays, blah, 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 blah. Because coaches understand that big plays can be in the first 5 minutes of the game. Colts fans will remember this. First drive last year, Jacksonville, last game of the year, Trevor Lawrence, whap, 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 whap. Every one of those was a big play. It set the tone of the game. It just did. Well, guess what? That's exactly what you're going to see out of LSU. All right? Third thing, running game. They're going to run the football. They're going to situationally run the football. And part of running the football is going to be screen passes, and part of running the football is going to be short passes to the tight end. You're going to see, I believe, over the course of the game, a conservative approach that is ultimately going to grind down Florida State. One of the things about programs like Florida State, and I mentioned this earlier and I'll mention it again, that are used to losing, meaning they have lost 4 straight years, let them lose. Figure it out. It's not like, Florida State is, what's the right word? It's not like they're Northwestern back in the 70s and 80s with no resources. It's not like that at all. What it is a team that is now unsure of itself if you give them the opportunity to screw it up. Now, people say to me, well, Dan, that just seems like it's negative thinking. I'm just telling you the psychology. If LSU commits a bunch of turnovers, if LSU gives life, you got a problem then. But that's not how Brian Kelly, this is the absolute worst big-time matchup that Mike Norvell can have. First-year coach, he's been there a little bit. Conservative coach, tough coach, demanding coach, no. It's a bad matchup. I'm going to take LSU, and I'll give you the 3. This is an interesting game. Georgia's minus 17 against Oregon. Dan Lanning comes from Georgia, and he's got to get this Oregon program going. Seems odd. I feel like Oregon has always been going. The old mentor against the boss kind of thing. Dan Lanning is a defensive guru, just like Kirby Smart was a defensive guru. Stetson Bennett, here's the deal. Remember this. It's always interesting. How does a team come back after a championship? Do they rise up? Do they play great? Stetson Bennett has had a lot going on. And remember, this is the era of NIL. So all of a sudden, your NIL money jumps, does it not? I mean, you win a championship? Are you kidding me? That's the psychology behind this. I think I might take the 17 of Oregon. 17 is a lot of points. Now, I understand that Georgia beat the living hell out of everybody, and I understand that Georgia's backups are considered better than most starters. I understand they are 5-star across the board, and that's good. But Dan Lanning knows a little bit about Georgia. Dan Lanning knows a little bit about Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett knows a little bit about Dan Lanning. Look, I don't know whether they have the talent. I don't think anybody really, if you go by recruiting rankings, has the talent to compete with Georgia. But I do know this. Georgia lost a ton off that defense. And I do know this. Dan Lanning's a damn good football coach as an assistant. I have no idea whether he's a good head coach. I have no idea. Nobody does. How do you? But I'll say this, man. That 17 is a lot of points. I looked at it, and I thought it was going to be 13. This is one I got to get Bear's opinion on. Bear Felica is going to join us coming up here in about 5 minutes. And last but not least, Ohio State and Notre Dame. Urban came on the show last week and said that he thinks Notre Dame can run with Ohio State. I don't believe that. Everybody that I know, and I know damn near everybody over there, will tell me Ohio State's looks spectacular. The line is 17. I've seen it as low as 14. Don't take it at 14. I thought Marcus Freeman looked as lost as anybody I've ever seen coach a football, basketball, baseball, any game. And I'm listening to Holly Rowe just now, and all she's talking about is motivation. Because when people have no idea what they're talking about, that's what they talk about, motivation. My motivation. You can motivate until you're blue in the face, but what you realize with motivation is motivation doesn't work. Motivation is something when you have nothing to say, you talk about after. The bottom line is you got to figure out Travion, Henderson, C.J. Stroud, those wide receivers, and a very fast defense. I don't think Notre Dame has it. The Bucher kid's a nice quarterback, fairly highly rated, not as highly rated as some, but highly rated enough. Notre Dame has good team speed, but they don't have elite team speed. And if you don't have elite team speed against Ohio State, you got a real problem. And let me tell you something, most expensive ticket ever in the horseshoe, this game. Crowd makes a difference. I talked about Purdue's campus buzzing. Are you kidding me? Even by Ohio State standards, which are way the heck up here on game day, woo, this place is going to be popping. I'm going to get into this with Bear when we come back, but I got to tell you, this is a great slate of games. Don't sleep Thursday night. All right, DraftKings, ladies and gentlemen, before we hit Bear, $5 free bet's going to get you $200. That's right. $5 free bet is going to give you $200. Go to DraftKings.com and download the app right now. I'll be right back. Bear Felica joins us next. Ladies and gentlemen, there's not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not seven, but 8 Emmys behind this man right here. Chris Felica, the Bear, baby. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm fired up, man. Good to finally catch up with you, first of all. But yeah, we're here. The college season's here. The pro season's getting upon us, and yeah, so some great storylines coming out of week one, and I'm ready for this weekend. A couple of good games Thursday, and then Saturday should be a hell of a lot of fun.
Oh, I think. Hey, what's the biggest storyline for you? What are you looking at? What's number one?
Coming out of last weekend, or just coming up because just the season in general?
This season, but week one in particular. What are you looking at this week?
I think in the season in general, I think it's just the race of who's going to be number 4, because I think everybody kind of assumes and is operating under the assumption that Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia are talent-wise head and shoulders above everybody else. And it's just going to be an interesting season to see who can be that 4th team if indeed the season plays out where we have an undefeated Alabama versus an undefeated Georgia in the SEC title game, where you assume both of those teams are going to make it. You assume Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten. Is it Clemson? Was that just a one-off last year for Clemson? If so, it's a pretty good one-off, because in a year where you kind of didn't meet expectations, your losses were to the national champion by a touchdown in a 10-3 game. You lost in overtime at NC State, and you lost to Pitt, team that won the ACC. So the fact that Clemson still won 10 games, they just need their quarterback situation to kind of clear up. As bad as you think DJ was, his numbers actually were worse than that. Like they averaged like over 8 yards, a drop back a couple of years ago, and last year it was like 5.5. So he's got to be better. Utah's a team, obviously, that everyone's talking about from the Pac-12. Small favorite, I think, in a dangerous game at Florida. Oklahoma from the Big 12. I think the Big 12 is wide open. So I think that 4th team in terms of the general storyline of the season is a big deal. But coming out of this week, I think it's going to be, how do you just where does Nebraska go from here? Because all the talk of the offseason, you bring in Mark Whipple, new quarterback, the Adrian Martinez excuse isn't there to use anymore. And it's just new year, same results, same mind-boggling ways of losing games. So I think what Nebraska does moving forward is certainly going to be interesting to see.
Hey, I mean, Nebraska, I know it's week one, but man, they're ready. If they got rid of Scott Frost right now, I don't think anybody would be upset in Nebraska, even though he's their guy, right?
No, I think they're kind of on board with that. The question I ask is, what happens in 2 weeks if they beat Oklahoma? Like it wasn't like which certainly could happen. I mean, and look, the only reason they lost to Northwestern was because of the bonehead decision to kick that onside kick. Like, they were in total control of the game. There was no need for them to do that. I get the angle of, if we get the onside kick, the game's over right there. But if you're up 2 scores, you kick it deep, you stop them, you get the ball back and score, the game's over right then and there anyway. So, like, their offense showed a lot of potential. Like, I wouldn't necessarily move Nebraska down in terms of your power ratings off of that performance, because I still think they'll be a decent team in the Big Ten. It was just a couple of questionable fumble call that he probably should have been ruled down. Interception off the tight end's hands. It bounces up in the air to end the game. So, like, again, it was just ridiculous ways to lose games. So I'm really curious to see what will happen in a couple of weeks. If you're looking to bet Nebraska, which I don't know if anybody wants to, like, kick themselves in the gut one more time, like you've been doing for the last couple of years. But at the same time, like, you're probably going to be a beneficiary now, because you're going to be getting a few more points in a couple of weeks against OU than you would have if they would have beaten Northwestern.
All right, let me go through a couple games. I think it's a bad game for Florida State. Like, I think that teams at 4 straight losing seasons, you got Brian Kelly in there, who's conservative. He'll give you the opportunity to screw it up. I like the 3 points given LSU to Florida State. Am I nuts here?
No, well, you're nuts, but that's not because you like LSU here. Because I like, well, we love you because you're nuts, though. But I'm with you. I like LSU, and I know a couple of other sharp players like LSU as well. Like LSU last year did not have a talent problem. LSU had a culture problem, guys holding themselves out for the NFL draft, guys sitting out, Coach O, all the escapades he had going on off the field. Like, LSU's got players. And I think when you bring in Brian Kelly, when Brian Kelly has had the better team, like at Notre Dame, when he was favored, he won his final 40 games. So people give Brian Kelly this knock about, oh, he couldn't win the big game. Well, who could beat Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and all the elite teams in college football? Nobody. But when Kelly is been perceived to have the better team, he's won all these games. So I think LSU playing in the Superdome is a massive advantage. I still have my question marks about Florida State. What do you learn from the Duquesne game, really? But I'm with you. I like LSU on Sunday night.
I just think it's a bad start. I mean, if I'm Florida State's coach, I don't want to play that game. No. Does Oregon have any shot? Dan Lanning coming in here, he knows the team. Stetson Bennett, a lot of lost defensive players, still some time. I mean, what do we see Oregon doing here with Georgia?
I don't think they're going to score a whole lot of points. I mean, I think that's going to be the problem. From what I have heard, the quarterback position has not really been very good in camp. We've seen Bo Nix against Georgia while at Auburn, and that certainly has not played out very well in his career. But I think the biggest thing that Oregon has going for it in this game, in a chance to keep it close, you mentioned Lanning, but they've got some really good players on the defensive side of the ball. Flo and Noah Sewell are all-American type players. So it's not like Oregon is devoid of talent on that side of the ball. And Lanning knows the Georgia offense. If he could figure out a way to contain those tight ends and shut down the running game and put it on Bennett's shoulders to make plays, yeah, they can hang around this game. I don't think it's a very high-scoring game, which also – in theory, helps the underdog if you can keep it in a 1 or 2 possession game. You're only one play away from making a run in the game. But I just don't think ultimately Oregon can score no points. But I don't know if I'd want to lay 17 or 18 points, whatever it is here.
All right. I've been all summer long, and I looked at this, okay? I looked at the last 5 games of Aiden O'Connell. Mm-hmm. And he was spectacular against Ohio State, against Michigan State, against Tennessee, against the rival Indiana. You can make the argument that passing the ball, he was the best quarterback in the Big Ten. This year, they don't play Michigan. They don't play Michigan State. They don't play Ohio State. They have the biggest game since the Tyler Trent game when they whooped up on Ohio State coming up on Thursday. 2 questions. 1, is Purdue any good? And 2, actually more important, am I completely out of my mind with Aiden O'Connell as a Heisman Trophy candidate? Not winner necessarily, but if they win this game and he throws for 400 or 500 yards, talk to me, Bear.
I don't think he's a candidate in terms of really having a chance to win it. Could he pick up some votes on the back end of the ballot? Sure, but I think Purdue's going to be like an 8-4 or a 9 team at, around that range, and usually the voters look towards teams that have really good records, put up big numbers, are in the top 10 of the poll. So that's why I think he's not really a candidate. But that being said, I love Purdue on Thursday night. This is a game where Jeff Brom is coming off. You lose Bell, you lose Karlaftis, you lose Lambert. It's an opportunity to prove and show that the program is more than them. With O'Connell and some of the other players that they have, look, he's been really good in the underdog role. I think it's 19-8 against the number, like 12 or 13 outright wins as a dog at Purdue. I've heard the ticket count for this game is severely lopsided towards the short road favorite in Penn State, which as a contrarian bettor, I always like kind of fading a big public play that kind of fits that mold. Short road favorite against a team that coming off of a big loss. I like Purdue in this game, and I really wouldn't be surprised at all if they won this game. Remember last year, too, they were a short home underdog in that game against previously undefeated Michigan State, coming off of that win over Michigan, and they absolutely blew the Spartans out. So I think this is a really good spot in the season opener to back Purdue.
Yeah, I said if I were just going to bet one game this weekend, I think I'd bet that game. I mean, you can't. If you're just trying to make money, I guess you just bet one game, but that's hard to do in a weekend like this. Right?
But yeah, that's the thing. People, I get this question a lot. Like, oh, who do you like this weekend? And I'll give them one or two games, and they're like, well, what about this game or what about that game? Well, like that's what the books and your and Joe at the auto body dealership was booking your bets. That's what they want you to do. They want you to bet volume. They want you to bet big parlays because that gives them an edge. If you have the best possible edge if you're just firing on one or two games that you feel really, really strongly about. So that's the way to play it. Find a couple of games that you really like. Try to keep it to a minimum, maybe 3 tops. I mean, some people like more, but I mean, I like trying to keep it to a minimum number and then just go at it.
Yeah, and is Purdue as good a game to bet as any? Is Purdue +3 as good? 3.5 now.
Yeah, there were 4 games that right now I had my eyes on this weekend. Purdue was one of them. I'm in the minority, I think, on another one. North Carolina was another one for me. I know they didn't look great, but look, it's the first game of the year. They didn't even know on Friday night for sure if they were going to be playing against Florida A&M because of all the issues that FAMU had going on. It looked sloppy, but I think from game 1 to game 2, now the line has moved to a pick. A lot of money coming in Appalachian State. Look, I get it. North Carolina's defense was a problem last year, and maybe it's a problem again this year, and maybe there is reason to be concerned. But I like UNC at a pick 'em against App State. Illinois, another Big Ten game, getting 3 against an Indiana team that last year I think they averaged like 10 points a game in Big Ten play. Like they had that magical run in 2020 where they covered every game. They won some games that they probably shouldn't have, and it was a great year. And then beginning with the bowl game, I think they failed to cover like 11 of their last 12 games, and the only game they won was that the Western Kentucky game that was kind of an ugly game. Illinois, I think, could surprise people this year. They got a really good defense. They got Brown to run the football. They got a competent quarterback now in Tommy DeVito. Bielema in his second year there, getting some buy-in. I like Illinois. I don't even know if you need the points in Bloomington on Saturday. And then the other game that I liked as well, out west, Washington laying a whole bunch of points, 21.5 against Kent State. I mean, say a prayer for Kent State, man. Like their non-conference schedule is Washington, Oklahoma, and Georgia. That's the state of college football right now, where in order to try and fund your athletic department and keep it afloat, like you got to take 3 bye games of the magnitude like that and serve yourself up as a sacrificial lamb to these big guys. But Kalen DeBoer, who you're familiar of, is now the head coach at Washington. He brings in Michael Penix, who was his quarterback in Indiana. Defensively, they still should be pretty good on the front 7. There were a lot of abominations of coaching. We talked about what happened at LSU. We talked about what happened at USC. The Jimmy Lake experiment at Washington was a total disaster. Their offensively were terrible. Dylan Morris is still there, but he's not playing. I think Washington gets off to a really solid start on Saturday because there's talent there, and I think this is a really good opportunity for Kalen DeBoer to get his tenure off with a really good start.
Kalen DeBoer is loved here in Indiana. I mean, he was the offensive coordinator. Penix reaching across the line. I mean. When he left, a lot of people feel like that program took an abnormal dive for one assistant coach's leaving, even though he's a coordinator. You know what I mean, Bear?
Yeah, no, and I think if you look at the evidence from the last couple of years and what we've seen, I mean, 10 or 11 points a game in Big Ten play and absolutely non-competitive quarterback turnovers and just turnovers and turnover. They really couldn't even settle on a guy. Maybe injuries were a part of it. No weapons, inability to run the ball. So whether it's a lack of talent, lack of creativity, lack of coaching and developing players, could be a little bit. But anybody who argues that was a major shift in the direction of Indiana football certainly has the evidence to back it up.
Hey, we didn't really talk about Ohio State and Notre Dame. I'm not outside of the line. I asked this question of Urban. He was on the show last week, and others. Can Notre Dame run with Ohio State? I feel like this again, talking to these guys, is as fast Ohio State team as they've ever had.
Yeah, I think it is, and Urban obviously has a much better insight as to what's going on at Ohio State than I do. But I think what we saw in the Rose Bowl from Ohio State, like offensively, that's the offense we're going to see this year, because Olave and Garrett Wilson, like, they didn't play in the Rose Bowl. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, Harrison, Stroud, that's what we're getting this year from the Ohio State offense, and that's downright scary. Look, I think the way the game has been lined and boarded, and the action, the way the money's coming on the game, I think the books are quite comfortable going into this game, needing Ohio State and throwing Notre Dame out there as a massive underdog in this game, because they know the public is going to, it's a top 5 matchup. There's no way Ohio State's going to win by 18, 19, 20 points. But be careful. The Notre Dame in this spot has really struggled. I think it's 10 straight losses against top 10 teams by like an average of 17 points a game, 11 straight losses against top 5 teams by an average of like 20 points a game in games away from home. Take the games in South Bend out of the equation. But the road games and the bowl games, they've been blown out in nearly every single one of them. You bring in you factor in the loss of Avery Davis. You bring in Al Golden now as defensive coordinator. I don't know if that secondary will be able to handle the Ohio State passing routes and be able to cover all the weapons that they have, and by the way, be able to contain Trevion Henderson.
I was talking to Sean Salisbury, and I wasn't talking NFL. I was talking to USC, his alma mater, and I asked him, you bring in Lincoln Riley, you've got Caleb Williams, you got the wide receiver from Pittsburgh. He made the comment that, look, at least out here, at least with our friends, our alums, we kind of think we're going to be, or we should be, that 4th team to slide in. I don't know that we talked about, or have people been talking about USC enough with Lincoln Riley there?
Yeah, I think they have, because I don't necessarily think it's an on the field conversation people have been having. I think it's more of a conversation people have been having about the new way of rebuilding your program in college football, almost the NFL way, like with free agency. You go out, you get a new quarterback, you get Travis Dye, you get Addison, you bring in a new coach. It's almost like an NFL model to kind of quickly rebuild their program. If they lose to anybody other than Notre Dame, UCLA, or Utah, it's a surprise, because they have more talent than any of those other 9 teams on their schedule. I think the issue is going to still be defensively. Are they going to be able to win shootouts? UCLA put 62 up on them last year, and Chip Kelly is sitting there just enjoying all of the chatter about Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley and that offense coming to the Coliseum, while his offense was pretty damn good last year. So, I think USC is probably a year away from being able to contend for that 4th spot, just because I don't know if they can beat Utah and handle the physicality of Utah, and maybe they slip up one other game along the way. But I will say this, if you want to spin it to another betting angle, if you're looking to find someone to bet on the high other than Will Anderson, who I bet, and you think the Ohio State guys can kind of negate each other out in terms of the voting, and you don't think they'll give it to Bryce Young 2 years in a row, I mean, they're worse bets to make than Caleb Williams, just because he's in a league where he's got a ton of weapons. He's going to put up a ton of yards and a ton of touchdown passes and a ton of rushing. All the production is going to be through the roof. It's just going to be a question as to whether if USC can go 10-2 in the Pac-12 or 11 or somewhere around there, and they make the Pac-12 championship game and maybe they win it, like he'll be on some ballots depending on what some other guys do. But yeah, I still think ultimately SC is a year away, because I ultimately think there's too many high-scoring, high-variable type games where they could get tripped up.
Hey, Bear, I'm sure that Jimbo, you're a legend. When you show up, it's bottle service, it's paparazzi, it's ropes, velvet ropes. Did Jimbo Fisher and Saban confide in you, and did they ask for advice? And if not, what do you make out of the whole Jimbo / Saban dust up this summer?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Nick shortly after it had. No, I didn't. It's good for the sport. I love it. I mean, people talk about the sport being boring, same old 3 or 4 teams in the playoff every year, nothing new. It's good. We need a villain in college football. We need to root against USC. We need to have 2 of the higher profile coaches who were on each other's staffs and kind of have a little bit of a chippiness. It's good for the sport. It's good that A&M beat them last year, and now Nick has this calendar circled to when the Aggies come to Tuscaloosa this year. I loved it personally. Now, at the same time, I kind of get what Nick is saying. Look, it's funny. Corso has a motto, like the 3 things you never talk about in public are politics, religion, and pass defense. And I called him and actually left him a little joke. I was like, the 3 things you never talk about in public, add NIL and transfer portal to that, because it's just a lightning rod. But I get what Nick is saying, because the spirit of NIL wasn't to, okay, which booster fan clubs can like buy the best recruits. The spirit of NIL was to, hey, Bryce Young, you had a great year. We're going to allow you to make some money off of an appearance. Or Caleb Williams, you had a big year at Oklahoma. Go do whatever. Hey, Kenneth Walker III at Michigan State, you had a great. That's what the spirit of NIL was. Not, hey, we're going to give this high school junior $8 million to do whatever, and he's going to sign with our school, and maybe he won't be any good. So, I get what Nick is saying, and I think as we proceed down this conference realignment road, I think we're going to ultimately be heading towards some type of break where maybe we see like the top 50 or 60 teams, what we basically know as the Power 5, and maybe a couple of others break away, and maybe you'll see a situation where everybody does get a salary to play college football, and then NIL will be more of the spirit of what we think it all initially was intended to be.
Hey, so you mentioned Coach Corso. How's he doing? Is he okay? He doing good?
I obviously part on the show on Saturday. That show is so hard for all of us to do, and especially for an 87-year-old man who has had a stroke with the 4-second delay. And I think in a situation like, he's so used to having Kirk there to be able to rely on, and Kirk kind of knows where he's going. He can kind of coax him through it. So it was a little rough at times to watch, just because. And look, I stuttered over some people, and people jumped in over, but health-wise, he's fine. It's just, I think all of the problems that he had with his stroke and the delay, I think it kind of threw him for a loop a little bit on Saturday. But as far as I know, his health is good other than that. I'm really looking forward to seeing him on Friday when I get to Columbus.
I think it was Lee Fitting that told me, I don't know if it was last year, or that the highest rated segment is still when Coach Corso puts the helmet on or puts the mascot's head on, right? Am I right about that?
It is, and that's the end of the show. It's the highlight of the show. It's the biggest pageantry portion of the show. It's all spontaneous. It combines everything that show represents: entertainment, humor, analysis, all of it. And it's funny because that's like the can't miss part of the show. I can remember when he dropped the F-bomb in Houston, however many years ago that was. Kirk and I had to fly to Oregon to go do an Oregon USC game. And we land and we get to the field, and like the first thing that the coaches and everybody in the field wanted to talk about and laugh at was Corso. Like, that he's still the person that everybody's paying attention to. Like, here's an 80-year-old guy dropping an F-bomb on TV, and that's all anybody wants to talk about is that, not how the show, good flight, here's the game plan for tonight. Yeah, you get that Corso dropping the F-bomb, laughing. So, yeah, I'm glad to see people still love Lee and look forward to that part of the show. And we expect him to be here as long as he wants to be here.
Yeah, and I think everybody talks about, Kirk, kind of, and you just talked about it, kind of getting coached through it. But I think all you guys do a great job. I do. And I think that there. How do I put this right? I don't want to sound condescending, but there's a humanity to Kirk, what he's doing, what you do, what everybody does. There's a humanity there that makes, I think, personally, the show more interesting. Any show. We can all watch a show and get a breakdown of whatever, but that humanity that you guys show to a guy that I've known since college. Hell, he came to my parents' house trying to recruit me to play football, for crying out loud. That's how dumb he was back in the day, but I like it. I think I shouldn't say makes it better, because the show's fantastic. It adds to it. It adds to the show. Let me put it that way.
Well, I think I'm glad you brought it up about the humanity of the show, because it really is a what you see is what you get type of family. We're on the road for 16, 17 weeks, whatever it is, throughout the year, spending Thursday night, Friday, and Saturday all day with each other. And it's kind of corny to say, but it really is our road family. And I think the fact that you've got a coach's son in Kirk, who really looks up to Lee and really looked to Lee for guidance early in his career. Like when Kirk's first year on the show was my first year on the show in 1996. And I think Kirk kind of being the new guy on the show really was able to benefit, and Lee kind of helped guide him through, because Lee knew he was a coach's son. He knew he had the respect. He knew he had the attitude. Everything about him was something like Lee would have as a son of his own. And it's kind of interesting now to see it come full circle almost, where 26, 27 years later now, it's Kirk, the coach's son, kind of being the one to guide and help Lee through and make him feel comfortable as well. And that goes for David and Desmond too, being former players and respective coaches and growing up in a team sport the entire time around as well. They know when the time is to step in there and kind of guide or laugh or jump in if he needs help with something. So, but you don't want to. It's a family. It's like a grandfather to us. So you don't want to like see a family member who you love kind of struggle, and you're always there for them regardless.
Yeah, and I'll second it, because, everybody, camera guys, gals, what's the makeup lady's name? She's freaking awesome.
Trish.
All you guys.
Yep.
Trish. Yep. The whole thing, I've only been around that show once, maybe twice, but I've been around Trish and all you guys. It's a very close-knit deal, and I think you can see that on the air. And again, the show's great, whatever you guys do, but I just think it adds to it. I think you can feel the closeness. And I got to tell you, there's maybe Kenny and Shaq and Charles and Ernie, but other than that, everything else is just a show. You guys have a camaraderie that I love, man, and it's every Saturday morning I watch, and I thank you for your friendship, my friend, and thanks for coming on my show. Thank you.
Of course. Anytime during the season you need me to hop on, just give me a shout. We'll do our best to make it work. Good to catch up with you, bud.
Tell everybody I said hello, my friend, including Trish.
I sure will.
Thanks, brother.
I sure will. Take care, bud. That's
the Great Bear, Chris Felica. Follow him on Twitter at Chris Felica. He is a great follow. He's fantastic. I would argue that Corso's it's a bit, but when Bear comes on, that's as big a deal too. I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but I guarantee you when Bear comes on, it's a big deal. Yeah. All right. There you go. I was going to give you my phone number. All right, we come back. I got to preview some NFL teams, baby, and what you think. We're going to be talking a lot, and I mean a lot, about this weekend's college football, because this weekend in college football is going to be a freaking blast. Are you kidding me? And I mean a blast. Starts on Thursday, doesn't end till Monday night? What are we doing? Look, 2 holidays I love. Labor Day, Memorial Day. Love them. Actually, I like all holidays. Yeah, I got my Biggins shirt on. We celebrate size, baby. We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
What's up, guys? It's Tommy, and if you missed my last show, you may be experiencing some FOMO, so this is what you missed. In the case of Sydney Sweeney, don't even get caught throwing a birthday party for your 60-year-old mother that has even slight undertones of Donald Trump. And whatever you do, do not invite a guest that might support law enforcement, because the internet will lose its marbles. Yes, this is a real thing, and it trended for hours on Twitter yesterday. Turns out Sweeney threw a surprise hoedown-themed birthday party for her mom that included hats that said, "Make 60 great again." And get this, she posed for a photo next to a friend or a family member who wore a Blue Lives Matter shirt. The horror, I know. Lock that woman up. Over the weekend, I don't know if you saw, but there was a big dust-up, a big debacle involving the wife of Jason Aldean, Brittany Aldean, who she posted, a little video saying that she's glad her parents didn't change her gender when she went through a tomboy phase because she loves being a girly girl. Yeah, was it a little bit, pointed? Yeah, it certainly was. But there were a couple other country artists, Cassidy Pope, Maren Morris, and a few others that were very, very triggered by her statement. And they didn't take the advice of Michelle Obama. They did not go high. They went lower than low. I've got more hot takes every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, and I'll have some final thoughts at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on Outkick.com.
Let me tell you one thing, and I just want you to stop it right now, okay? There is an unlawful, unethical attack, and it's starting too early on all things pumpkin spice. It is, and I don't like it. I don't like anything about it. I don't think pumpkin spice should be under attack. I'm reading way too much about this. Way too much. And I may have to get some opinions on this. I know it's the end of August, and usually the pumpkin spice stuff doesn't start till the middle of September, but I'm all in on it. A little sugar around the rim, whatever my wife does with the pumpkin spice beer, I'm in. I ain't mad at pumpkin spice coffee either. Don't at me about it either. All right, let's talk some NFL. Look, the Seattle Seahawks, I think, all right? I think that the Seattle Seahawks are going to be among the worst teams in football. Let me explain to you why. First, what is their quarterback situation? Explain it to me. Tell me, what is it? Drew Lock, Geno Smith, that's their quarterback situation. That's for starters, because let's be honest, on the field matters more than anything else. And let me also say, you guys out there that think that this is your father's Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson, the Legion of Boom, you're just wrong. I mean, this is a bad football team right now. And one of the biggest problems, other than the quarterback position, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that Pete Carroll's done. He just doesn't know it. Or maybe he does know it, and he's just hanging on. And let me tell you why he's done. You had an iconic quarterback in Russell Wilson want to leave. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything I read in the media was true. Specifics are true. What I am going to tell you is that Russell Wilson left, and he didn't have to. And that Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll had a very public falling out. What does that mean? That means Russell Wilson didn't trust Pete Carroll. That means Russell Wilson felt like the time that Pete Carroll had to make them Super Bowl contenders / Super Bowl champions was over. And it's not like they went out. I'll give the Colts credit. It's not like they went out and got Matt Ryan. It's not like they went out like Tampa Bay did and got Tom Brady. It's not like they went out and got Matt Stafford. They got Drew Lock. I saw a video of Drew Lock. He was throwing swing passes into a net, and he hit the net. He hit the hole in the net that he was supposed to. There was 3 of them. All right. Then he got COVID. Then Geno Smith came in, and Geno Smith doing what Geno Smith does. He was horrible. I think this could be the worst team in football. I do. I think that when you look at this team, you say to yourself, what are they going to be? Are they a running team? Oh, I don't know about that. Are they a passing team? Well, I don't know about that. I mean, 175 yards is what Geno Smith did last year to 222 in an injured year is what Russell Wilson did. I don't know. What are they? I mean, I guess they're a team that we're all going to have to say, yay, rah, go fight, win. Chris Carson? I don't know. But there's nothing to them. And they got a bad quarterback. And when you got a bad quarterback and there's really nothing interesting about your team other than, I will give them this, DK Metcalf is the man. Lockett, Metcalf, the rest are very good. I will give them that. DK Metcalf was actually the second leading receiver on the team. Tyler Lockett was first. Tyler Lockett caught over 100 balls. Metcalf caught 75. I lied. Lockett had the most yards. So they do have good wide receivers, which frankly, if you're going to have something, it better be that. Now, Metcalf made moves in the offseason, blah, blah, he got signed, that's fine. But I honestly believe this team could be the worst in the NFL. They play in a very tough division. And you always have to go to schedule, don't you? Denver, which is amazing, isn't it? Now, seriously, look, you got the 12th man up there in Seattle. You got an iconic quarterback. I don't know, you tell me. Is Jim Zorn the only more iconic quarterback in Seattle? Or close? Not even close, actually. Then what is Russell Wilson? I don't know, you tell me. But I do know this. I do know that Russell Wilson didn't want to be there, and I do know that coming back first time, if the Seahawks don't win that game, they may not win a game. Now, they're going to win a game. They'll beat Atlanta week 3. Look at my beautiful wife. Just walking in here with a new cup of coffee, keeping this fresh, keeping all this going. Thank you, my beauty.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I still look at her that way. That's right, I do. Yeah, baby. Oh, humana. That kind of class is what brought her to me. All right, well, they got to go to San Francisco game 2. Their road games at Detroit, at New Orleans, at the Chargers, at Arizona, at the Rams, at Kansas City. I mean, this ain't easy, people. They're not going to win at Kansas City. They're not going to beat the Rams on the road. They're not going to beat the Chargers on the road. They're not going to beat New Orleans on the road. They're not going to beat San Francisco on the road. I mean, so they beat Detroit and they beat the Giants. All right, they got 9 home games. So they got 2 road wins. They'll beat Atlanta at home. I'll give them a win over Arizona. I'll give them a win over the Jets. It's 5 wins. That's as bad as there is in the league. Mark my words. That's 5 wins. This is going to be the worst team in the league. Now, the one thing that I would say is if you are going to talk to NFL people, not NFL writers, NFL people, general managers, ex-coaches, coach, that kind of thing, they'll tell you, man, you got to have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. They will also tell you, though, you know what you got to have? You got to have wide receivers. They got wide receivers. So I'm going to look this up here. I should have done this prior. What would you guess if you had to make a guess on the Seattle Seahawks over-under? I just gave you 5 wins. It's 5.5. This is going to be the worst team in football. And one of the reasons I think it's the worst team in football is because they don't believe in their coach. I love Pete Carroll. Everybody loves Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's smart, right? Cheated his brains out, got caught, moved on to the NFL, left the baggage there. Who doesn't love a guy that cuts and runs ahead of the cops? We all do. We all would. It's what we do. But it's over. It's over. You will see this being the worst team in the NFL, and then you will see Pete Carroll resign at the end of the season, if not in the middle of the season. There you go. All right. Who else you got? Who else you got? Who's my next team? We've moved on to Nashville. We've moved on from Dubai to Nashville. Who am I season previewing now? It's going to be glorious. It's going to be wonderful. No, Purdue fans, don't call it AOC. Please, do not call it AOC. No, he is not AOC. He is not AOC. Aiden O'Connell. He is not AOC. He's not. I will not refer to Aiden O'Connell for Heisman as AOC. You can't make me. And by the way, don't be stupid. They said AOC would have a better chance if they played Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State. No, they wouldn't. AOC is going to have a chance if they're undefeated going into the Indiana game. It's true. All right, let's talk about the Denver Broncos. Let's talk about Russell Wilson. Here's the deal with Russell Wilson. He's not at the level of Tom Brady walking in the room and everybody jumping up and down, standing on their head, crapping snowballs. He's not at that level. I mean, he's a good player, and he's iconic, and everybody's going to play better, but everybody doesn't totally straighten up. He's more of an everyman. Like, he's more of a guy that you see, and you're like, man, it's really cool to be friends with Russell Wilson. His wife's a celeb. They hang out in the good circles. You know what I'm saying. It's really cool. But he ain't Tom Brady. He's not far off. He's better than Matt Ryan. Like, Matt Ryan walks in, and all of a sudden everybody's telling me he's Tom Brady. He's okay. All right. Sure he is. But he elevates this franchise. They're using the Peyton Manning model, except that they know that Russell Wilson was going to play. Remember when Peyton Manning came over to the Broncos, Jimmy Irsay got rid of him because he did not think Peyton Manning was going to play. Peyton Manning had a horrible neck. Well, guess what? He doesn't have a horrible neck. Who's he? Russell Wilson. Just was in a bad scene, man, to quote the 70s. He was in a bad situation, man. So Russell Wilson gets to go home first game. Man. Now, here's what Russell Wilson needs to do first game. Russell Wilson needs to take away all the distractions of coming home for your first game. And there are a ton. Oh, the emotion. Yeah, okay. All right, fine. Okay. There's a lot of emotion. All right. We're really upset. Okay. We hated to leave. Yeah, okay. No, you didn't. You're glad you left. You're good to be gone. Now go play some football. Am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. I think I'm dead right. Russell Wilson's got enough. He's got enough around him. Javonte Williams, 900 yards. He's nice. Behind him, Melvin Gordon. He's nice. The wide receiver, Sutton. Oh, baby. You know who's going to have a year. I'm a fan of Cortland Sutton. I'm a big fan of Jerry Jeudy. I think I told you this earlier. 38 receptions. He got a little banged up. He's only 23 years old. Jerry Jeudy, take him. I don't know where wide receivers need to go. I don't know where they go in fantasy football. That's for smart guys like you. I know this. This guy, Jerry Jeudy, is going to have a monster year. Everything that I have read has said that Russell Wilson has taken him under his wing. Everything that I have read, well, I don't even need to read. The dude is uber talented. Jerry Jeudy, to me, is going to have a breakout year because Jerry Jeudy is really good. He's only 23 years old. He obviously has to stay healthy. Like Jerry Jeudy against Kansas City cannot do this. 2 catches, 30 yards. He's got to have 6 catches for 110 yards in big games like that. You know, Tom Moore. You don't know the name Tom Moore. Tom Moore is a legendary offensive coordinator / offensive guru / whatever else offense you want to be. You want to have him coach tight ends? He's great. Wide receivers? He's great. Quarterback? Whatever you want Tom Moore to do, he can coach in 1,000 years in the NFL. Tom Moore always said late in the game, it's players, not plays. Jerry Jeudy, at 23 years old, has to become a player. Not a playa. Playa bad. Player, late game. Jeudy, good. Very, very good. I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of John Mechie too, but John Mechie's out. I'm a big fan of John Mechie. I wish John Mechie was in. The defense, Randy Gregory, we going to play or no? Jonas Griffin, we going to play or no? Randy Gregory is a kid from right over here, literally lived 2 blocks away or 3 blocks away. has had all kinds of problems, committed to Purdue, played basketball with two guys that were both Mr. Basketball, Gary Harris and Zach Irvin. One played at Michigan, one played at Michigan State. Randy Gregory has been a problem child basically since then, and it's time for Randy Gregory to grow the hell up. Bradley Chubb's a terrific linebacker. Randy Gregory gets his head out of his backside. Kareem Jackson, he's all right. Patrick Surtain, they say he's the best player on the football team. I don't know. But I know this, you can get a hell of a thing going if Randy Gregory grows the hell up, stays healthy, and away we go. We'll see if he can. Stays out of the bad stuff. I'm just telling you. Stay out of the bad stuff, Randy. You've been paid a lot of money to play in the NFL. Now you got a team where you can become a Von Miller type player. But if you're going to get involved in the bad stuff, you know what you're going to be doing? You're going to be my age. You're going to be 60 years old telling people, well, you know, I made all these mistakes, and you're going to look like hell. You ever see Old Drug Guy? Old Drug Guy looks bad, man. Old Drug Guy looks like, I don't know, like you wouldn't look like this as Old Drug Guy. This is special. Me and Tom Brady and I are the only two people that, well, frankly, works for him. And I've had nothing done here. Nothing. It's all man, baby. Stop being drug guy, Randy Gregory. Start being good guy. It's really that simple. It's easier said than done. Drugs are hard to get rid of. Alcohol is hard to get rid of. Bad habits are hard to get rid of. But the fact of the matter is, if Randy Gregory does, he does have a chance to be a Von Miller type. Okay, so let's do what we do. You ready? Let's look at the schedule. At the Seahawks, man, that is must-see TV. That's ABC, that's ESPN, that's Monday Night Football. And if they get that game, the Houston comes in, and it sets up a hell of a Sunday night game against San Francisco. How about that? How about Russell Wilson going over to the Broncos, and two of his first three games are on the biggest platforms the NFL has? That's pretty good. Man, they go to Las Vegas, and then they got Indianapolis at home. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, they beat Seattle, they beat Houston, they beat San Francisco. They lose to either Vegas or Indy, so they're 4-1. They could be 5-0 pretty easy. 4-1, then they go to the Chargers. Then they got the Jets, Jacksonville at home, go to Tennessee, and then Vegas. That's another 4-1. That's 8-2. Then they go to Carolina, Baltimore, Kansas City at home, Arizona at home, and at the Rams. Now that gets sexy. I'm going to say they're 2-3. So that's 10-5. And they end at Kansas City and at the Chargers. That's 11-6. It's about right? I mean, there's some tough wins in there. Going into, I believe, Seattle, first game of the year, it's going to be a little sexy for Denver. Can Denver handle it? Of course, because Seattle is garbage. And I never say anyone or anything is garbage, but Seattle is garbage. Interesting. You look on these things, it's a 10-point spread. I'm on my DraftKings account right here. I go to DraftKings. I don't advertise things I don't use. So DraftKings account has them 10.5. Oh, baby. I take the over. I take the over today, tomorrow, and the next day. I believe in Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, I'm all in on. DK Metcalf, all in on. There was another one we talked about today that I'm all in on. I can't remember who it was. All right, woke-a-dope. Who's so woke that they're dopey today? Ryan, Dylan, who we got? Oh, wow. Man, the libs of TikTok has been locked out. Libs of TikTok is fantastic. I'm not going to lie to you. The libs of TikTok is one of those that when you watch the libs of TikTok or when you read the libs of TikTok, you know what you get? You get the truth. You get hypocrisy. You get a mirror to hypocrisy. You do. You get a mirror to it. They show you what somebody said early and then what somebody said later. Perfect. Although that may be defiant else. Libs of TikTok post TikTok videos of teachers, if you can believe this, that have decided that it's okay to cut up your children, that have decided it's okay for a 4-year-old, ladies and gentlemen, to get some type of surgery without telling parents. Libs of TikTok exposes the truth, particularly on the left, and I don't know why that's hateful. I don't. Why is that hateful? Why are people not allowed to share, express their feelings where, you're not getting them anywhere else? Are we all supposed to have groupthink? And it's always under the guise of hate. Anything that you do that doesn't conform with the ists or the isms or the icks, you're transphobic, you're hateful. Everything is hate. Everything, if you don't do what big tech, big media wants to do, is considered hate. Well, you're hating. No, I'm not. I'm explaining. Well, if you don't believe in our cause, then you're a hater. No, I'm not. I'm explaining. No, you don't believe in our cause. You're a hater. No, I'm not. No, I'm questioning. Is it possible? Is it possible? Is it to actually think different about a subject and not hate on that subject if the subject is related to the left? The answer that I have for you is, oh, hell no. No, we all must acquiesce, apparently, to the left. And if we don't, then it is hateful, transphobic, homophobic, racist, sexist, misogynist. I rail on this every day, I feel like, because it's so ridiculous. I've always said, I don't care who kisses who, but it isn't always about you. It isn't. We have problems with who can go in men's and ladies' room. Again, what a great country. I brought over a Serbian player who said, hey, coach, the roads are fantastic. I said, what are you talking about, do son? Oh, there's no bombs. That's what people worry about across the world. We worry about who goes in a damn bathroom together or whether or not you're supporting my parade. Let me tell you about your parade. I got stuff to do on the weekends. I got kids. As Tom Brady said, I'm 60. I got ish to do. You kidding me? Well, if you don't support it, then you're a hater. Yeah, okay, great. Why do people get to say, why do they get to make policy? It's not all about them. It's about us. It's about us doing the things and believing in the things that we want to believe in. And some people believe in the Bible, and the Bible doesn't exactly promote what's going on right now. Now, you can think it does. You can swing it to you. Maybe in your world it does, so good for you. Maybe people are brought up different. I don't know. But the libs of TikTok defending the world, really, against teachers, adults, groomers, wanting to change the sex of young children is asinine to me, will always be asinine to me. I'm sorry, them defending it and then getting locked out or them being called hateful. I've got this all screwed up. They're not defending it. Them exposing the evilness of people preying on young children should be celebrated, what the libs of TikTok are doing. It should not be canceled. It should not be suspended. It should not be locked out. Why don't we protect our children? Tell me, please, why do we not protect the most vulnerable of all of us, our children? Why are we having to expose our children to pole dancers, to grooming? Why? Why is it about that? Why isn't it about teaching our children to make their own decisions, teaching our children how to read, write, arithmetic it, history it, play together, live together, learn together, and not force our children to see things that I don't even want to see at 60 years old, and I didn't want to see at 22-year-old. I don't want to see some fat ass on a pole. I don't want to see some dude dressed up as a girl in my school. Maybe I would have liked it because it got me out of some period. It got me out of science or chemistry or math or whatever. But why aren't we defending our children? Why aren't we celebrating what the libs of TikTok are doing by exposing these monsters? And that's what they are. Absolute monsters. It's a damnedest thing, this world. It is. It's the damnedest thing. We'll keep fighting. I'll keep fighting every day. I don't give a damn. What do I got to lose? I'm 60 years old. The hell am I doing? Man, oh man, oh man. Defend our kids. Help our children. Educate our children. Man. And if you're not, the hell are you doing? You're evil because you're a bully, because you're picking on the most vulnerable of all of us. All right. TMZ has confirmed former WWE superstar Velveteen Dream was arrested twice in Florida last week. Velveteen Dream, cousin of Velveteen Rabbit. I want to thank everyone for being a part of the show. Chris Felica, fantastic. Podcasts will be up. Will you do me a favor? You guys aren't doing this enough. I'm going to reprimand you. Retweet our stuff. I need more viewers. I like it. I want it. I want some more of it. Have a great afternoon. I'm on noon to 3. It's cutdown day in the NFL. There have been some surprising things in cutdown day, including my Colts cutting Phillip Lindsay. Odd. All right. Have a great day. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Dylan. Everybody involved with the show, thank you. See you tomorrow.